Hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode of What's News. I'm J77. Let's get right to it. One thing, let me just say it off the bat right now. I am not making this into the Trump hour. I've already spoke my piece with about my feelings on the Trump administration in the premiere, which was long. Yes, I recognize it. We'll try to keep it minimum. Two, forgive me. I'm still recovering from a bug that just won't go away. It is something that's been bothering me for quite some time, so I do apologize right up front if my voice sounds a little groggy or I am coughing between it. That's not my fault. It's not something that I can avoid either. But it needed to say it has been bothersome for quite some time, being congested and all. With that being said, um, I do have to talk about something that is Trump related, or more so a party related, because it is something that has been going on for quite some time, and now the Affordable Care Act is pretty much going to be for the majority half of this year up front and center, where you're going to see a whole lot of stuff being pitched around, but no one can really agree on it. And I find this kind of interesting considering how the Republicans have said they're going to immediately repeal and replace. Where here the problem is they can't just repeal something without actually having a replacement plan already put on the table. And this is where the problem comes in, because they were actually hoping for, and there's no denying it there, because as you notice now, we're now approaching March, and there has been nothing has been put on the table yet. That's because they didn't have anything on the table. They were actually hoping to repeal it and then come up with something on the fly later on if they ever had any plans for it. Well, here's the thing. Though if they would appeal Obamacare right now at this very moment, which they haven't, they're preparing for it, but they haven't repealed anything. It's still in place. If they repeal the Affordable Care Act right now, you got almost millions of registered voters ready to tear up a new one. And this which leads me to the topic here. There's been a lot of town hall meetings that has come into fruition, and a lot of people, who, most of them are actually Republican voters, have voiced their disapproval, explaining to their representatives, to those who represent their state or their counties, how big of effect it's going to have for them if they just repeal it right off the bat. How much the poor is going to suffer, and one old guy have even brought up, if you look at the news panel, how if they was to do this, they would pretty much make death panels, because those who are going to be affected cannot simply afford the care that the insurance are charging, which is extremely expensive, almost hard to get, and is really just going to leave a lot of people displaced in a mess, especially those with pre-existing conditions. These are the things that I think the Republicans have to take into account. These are the things that I think the Republicans did not count on. The serious backlash or pushback, if you like to call it, on those, especially those who have it and those who actually like it, and now finally coming out. The response is pretty much mixed from the Republican side. Of course, there are some saying that there's a stage, they don't really represent the people. They keep going on and on and on about how the only way to solve it is repealing it and replacing it. But the problem I have with the Republicans is, it's one thing if they already have something already in place, that they got an idea going forward, that they already have something in paper, an amendment in paper explaining what that replacement health care is going to be, as well as provisions that's going to help, not hurt, the people who are already on it or those who are looking for affordable care. They don't have any of that. They ran this campaign, especially Trump, on the promise that they're going to replace something that people won't believe. But when a push comes to shove, they didn't have nothing to replace it with, and now they're stuck in a situation where they're realizing they can't just repeal it without replacing it. And replacing something that's there, that's already there, without actually having to go through the whole step of taking things out to the degree where it just basically becomes useless, isn't something that's going to vote well for a lot of voters, especially those who are on a care plan where not perfect, but it's there and they got something, so where they can get the help they need. And they got to understand that it's not just poor individuals, or there are a lot of people who actually have good jobs but still can't afford the health care, or have jobs but are paying more for health insurance than they actually can actually earn. So there's a whole lot of stuff going on that's happening, and a lot of it has to do with the healthcare insurance policies and stuff that like that, and how they are being charged by the medical field. But also a lot of it has to do with the fact is that they don't have something going to replace it with that will lead to those being affordable. The reality is they don't want the federal government to be involved. They want very little involvement of any federal interference. They don't believe that the federal should be in that kind of field of work, and that's where they're trying to leave it. They want it to be more privatized, but it was privatized before, and we are seeing how that end up for those in the middle to poor class. So this is the town hall meeting that we're hearing. Hearing a lot of stuff in the town hall meetings, and it's gotten to the point where they're making one big mistake, and this is something that the Republican Party needs to understand something. You can't just walk away on the voters. You can't walk away on the people who are voicing their anger and their frustration and concern. You need to, man, you need to be accountable. You are the representative of your state, of your county, of your cities. You have to talk to these people. You have to explain what you're doing and what plans you have. Getting mad and getting frustrated is not going to solve the problem. And this is something that I agree with Chris Christie, who pretty much point right out, and he's so right about this. The ball's on their court now. They can say all the stuff about the Affordable Care all they want, but the reality is you're now front and center. You have control of both the Senate, the House, and yes, even the presidency. And if they're going to act like that the voters' voice don't matter, well, you're going to find the hard way it does, just like the Democrats did, and they're going to vote you out just as quickly as if they did a few years ago. So these 2 years is crucial more so for the party than for the president itself, because they're going to make a lot of laws, and they're going to pass a lot of laws that will have a strong impact for better and for worse. And the one thing you need to understand, if it's a lot of people screaming and yelling, you need to at least understand where that's coming from. You can filter out those who are just screaming for no reason at all, but there's a lot of stuff there that have a common ground, and you need to understand and hear these people, both young and old, of why they're voicing concern, why they don't want to see it repealed. It may be a whole year, it may be even 2 years before we see an actual repeal of Obamacare, if that ever happens the way the Republicans want it. But if they're going to repeal it, they have to replace it. You just can't repeal and then don't replace it, or just pretend that things work fine without it, because everybody knows that the problems that can come without having insurance. Everybody knows just how jacked up the prices these hospitals, these pharmaceuticals can be when it comes to our health. There are medicine that range for $400 just for small capsule or pills that could be life-saving, but yet people can't afford it because it's so much money. There's reason why special programs that assist with that. There's reason why dental is expensive. There's a reason why the medical field is such in a bad state, and to pretend it's not a problem isn't going to solve the issue. It's only going to make things worse, and I think the Republicans need to come to grasp with that. So I think these town hall meetings, yeah, you're going to be a lot of angry people, there's going to be a lot of concerned people, but it's also going to be a time for them as representatives of their respective states to start showing leadership and explaining their situation more clearly than saying, we're going to repeal it, it didn't work, we're going to replace it. But like I said before, as a person who's a registered voter, and I take politics seriously, I hear it, I don't see it, and I don't even see the plan. And the one thing I gotta say, what's your plan? If you're already disagreeing on what plan to do in place in it, that tells me you never had a plan to begin with, and you was actually banking on repealing it without actually ever having any intentions of replacing a system which you guys have said it was broken. And that's something that concerns me a lot. So that's something I wanted to bring up as well. I'm going to be very, very quick and swift on this. Little brief on the situation on the banned media. Are you surprised by this? Look who he had with him, who believe of honest media, which is conservative news. Look who was banned, who was more liberal or more down in the middle. So no one should be surprised at all with the move that he has done. No one should be shocked as to what this kind of movement is. All I know is that he needs to be mindful. Banning the media, no matter if they're conservative or liberal, never really votes out well. You want a good president, even a president who don't agree with the media has done, even when the media has hacked on him. A good president knows how to work around it, know how to embrace the media, and know how to get his message across. The problem with Trump is he wants them to bow down to his style, to his will. That's never going to happen. I don't even with conservative news, that's not going to happen. They're going to report the news the way it's supposed to be reported. You hope they can report the news the way they report it. Like I said before, they're sometimes the enemy of their own policies and how to get ratings, how to make money. But in this situation, they do are the freedom. There's a freedom of the press for a reason. And if you try to muffle or try and intimidate, which he is doing, he's flexing his muscle around. With the press, that's not going to work out well. It's going to look bad not only for you, who's already been labeled as a dictator by millions of people who don't like you, but also going to be look bad on the Republicans, who already having huge problems in other states and how they've been dealing with pressure with other people as well as the press. You gotta work with these. You gotta work with them. If you don't work with them, you think they were giving you a hard time before, they're really going to give you a hard time now, especially for every little thing you do wrong. And right now, like I said before, it hasn't been a year yet, and already he's stirring up the pot and not in a positive way. With that being said, I don't think there's going to be a repeat. I think that I think that the people did whisper in and say, yeah, we can't keep doing this. We need the press. We need to work out on it. He did double down, but at the same time, it comes a little too late when you're how you're dealing with the press. You don't want to give that kind of negative. You don't want to give that kind of situation that you're a dictator or you're a king, because you're not. I think the Supreme Court proved that with your travel ban. which speaking of travel ban, it's supposed to announce a new one this week. I will be keeping an eye on the news for that. It is very important that I keep in track of what he's going to do, what difference between this executive order and the next executive order. So that's something that he is bringing to the table. It already had a lot of effect in the Hollywood business. Just recently, I found out that an Iran picture from foreign language has won, but the director behind it had to actually protest the Oscars on the simple fact of Trump's inhumane travel ban against Muslims. So I'm not surprised that he did, and that's fine. God bless him. I'm glad he won the award. I'm very happy for him. But it is having a lot of effect, especially for those of ethnic backgrounds. And this is something that no matter what he says, I know his daughter. And I'm not gonna go after his daughter. I think I understand what she was trying to do, and I think in general, she was just trying to calm down the storm. But a lot of people has put it to the fact is it's hard to say what you're saying in terms of religious diversity and religious tolerance when you have a man who is your father who is doing complete opposite. And to further put salt in the wounds, there was an incident that happened where his rhetoric has finally cost the life of an innocent man. A person storming to, I believe, a bar, pointing a gun at someone, saying, "Get out of my country," and fire shots. He's charged with murder. He killed this guy. This guy lived in the country all his life, but because of his ethnic background, this guy felt the need to pull out a gun, say what he had to say, and then pull the trigger. He's behind bars, thank God. He's being charged with murder and 2 counts of attempted murder, because he not just shot him, he shot 2 other guys as well. And it's just pretty much a prime example of why rhetoric can be very dangerous especially for those who are supposed to be leaders and above this. We have seen it before with the Atlanta shooting, where a senator got shot in the head. Luckily, she has by miracle survived it, and that was through Sarah Palin's rhetoric and her craziness of "don't retreat, reload," putting bullseyes on senators. Well, somebody took the heart of what her rhetoric was, and it really, that kind of rhetoric alone, it will cause there any kind of political future in the long run. And Donald Trump rhetoric of hatred and continued spilled rhetoric of hatred seems to feed in a very certain group of people, not realize how dangerous some of these group of people are, because they really do take them at their word. I already explained about the incident that happened in New York where somebody pushed some lady down the subway. Go back to your own country, and you got this situation here where a man where this man who was filled with hate took a life of another man. That man's not coming back, all because he feels he doesn't belong in this country, even though he has lived here approximately all his life. This is the kind of rhetoric that needs to stop. This is the kind of rhetoric that needs to be pushed back, because it's gotten to the point where it's getting very dangerous, and we're seeing the effects all across the country, and that's something that unfortunately we're seeing now in a more tragic faith here. This is the first tragedy of his rhetoric, and I'm calling it his rhetoric, because these are people who believe what he's saying to a degree that they feel emboldened to attack, to make racist remarks, to make racist markers on buildings, burning down buildings, and yes, even feel empowered to take the law in their own hands and take a life of a human being, all because they feel that person that they looked right in the face doesn't belong here. It's a very, very sad, very, very sad thing indeed. I'm going to go a little bit locally. This is something I wanted to talk about for a while. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to come back to haunt my mayor's mayor campaign. In case you guys haven't known, a few years ago, an official from the de Blasio administration have signed off on a deal that basically converted a nursing home into a luxury condo. The reason why this is a big deal, because of the fact is that there was a deed restriction. A deed restriction, in case you all know, here in New York, prevents certain buildings to be converted to something else. There was so much flipping in this situation that a lot of miscommunication was happening. The mayor was reportedly kept out of the loop, and as a result, this place where they wanted to be kept as a nursing home has been changed into a luxury condo, which we already have plenty of them just popping out of nowhere. The developers pretty much did a lot of sneaky hand, and as a result, this led to a lot of criticism, a lot of angry backlash on the mayor, who said in his own words, and this is something that really drives me nuts, he was not aware of, and which my reply was, and I'll say it again, is, you're telling me right now you don't know what you guys are doing, you're telling me you've been kept that far out of the loop. And what's even more disturbing is this guy has not been fired. Well, today has been announced that he has been fired. According to the Daily News by Greg B. Smith and Dennis Sassery, the city official who approved lifting deed restrictions that allowed a Lower East Side nursing home to be flipped for luxury condos has been fired. Richard Midgen, a deputy commissioner of the citywide Department of Administration Service, was let go on Friday, hours after Mayor de Blasio highly anticipated sit-down with the federal prosecutors. The attorney confirmed Saturday. Now, keep in mind, nothing was talked about this over the weekend. We just recently found out about it about 24 hours ago. And it was done quietly. A lot of reason because the mayor himself has volunteered for a hearing with the federal government, the feds, if you want to just put it right there, about his ties with possible unethical moves with his charity, and as well as how he was raising campaign. Was there any dishonorable things going on? You name it, that was the situation that was going down. Well, he had that hearing. There was a 3-hour grilling. It was a long day for him, and he left there feeling confident that he did nothing wrong. Well, A lot of people's opinions feels differently about that, but I'll get to that in a minute. But I want to continue reading. This says here, the Wall Street Journals had first reported the firing. U.S. Attorney Pierre Brandon investigated the Riverton deal as part of a border investigation, gathering into whether or not the Blasio administration gave special favors to donors. Guy Oakhander, an attorney for the ousted commissioner of this situation, said they'd be found the dismissal in the context of the day's events highly problematic. I find the timing of his firing very suspicious, which I agree. No question about this. And he's wondering whether or not it's politically motivated. Of course, it's politically motivated. There's no question that it's politically motivated. The man is running for re-election. He's running for re-election this year. You think he wants anything that's going to hurt him? Here's the factor here. Here's how you know this is politically motivated. Because here's the thing. This happened. This so started in 2014. They didn't realize what was going on until 2015. He was still hired, still then, after the reports was found that, after the situation found that he had done this. He just got fired now. I would have fired this guy the first day when I found out they was hiding information from me. I would have been fired, and a police investigation would have been lifted right there. He kept him on, and that what drove me nuts here. First of all, when something like this happens, you always have to be in the loop. It's bad enough that New York is the most expensive place to live in. It's bad enough that Bloomberg, yes, and I say Bloomberg administration more than I say Giuliani administration, where he allowed these developments to pump out condos after condos, making the city even more expensive, even in more poor neighborhoods. But to have this being done to favor greedy real estate developers who is only care nothing more about making money and raising the property rate to astronomical levels. But the fact that he did it in such a sneaky way, not telling nobody about it, keeping the mayor out of the loop, the moment this would have been done, I would have fired him ASAP. He kept him on for a good 2 years. 2 years. How? Why? And yeah, I say it again, this is politically motivated because he's running for mayor again. He's running for a second term. And he's trying to filter out as much garbage that has been going on. Because you better believe that the opponents are going to attack him. There's already been ads running for 2.5 years about his affordable housing policy, how it didn't work, and it hasn't. I don't care what his administrative staff has. There's a homeless situation, and a lot of people in the homeless situation are actually working people who just simply can't afford the rent in this city. Yet you're letting these houses that could have been for affordable housing, those who can actually afford the rent, instead of you converting to that, you gave it for a luxury condo that's going to cost millions of dollars to own, not including the maintenance costs. Condos go for a lot of money in New York City, especially Manhattan. You'd be amazed. So again, I'm a little bit, yeah, it's suspicious, and hey, I'm gonna call it like it is. It is a political move. He is running for mayor this year. I'm gonna start covering him when June and July start coming, because that's when the candidates will start coming in and filtering out. There are a couple of them right now. Nobody hasn't really made a move yet. But this is the thing. He's trying to alleviate some of the damage and trying to collect all the good things he has done. And he had done some good things. I'm not going to say he done it all bad, but he also had a lot of things that was done bad, done that scratch your head. That's why he's trying to make up for that. He gave the police department a 15% raise, which is far better cry than that 1% raise he was going to stick with. He has curved down the tension between minorities and the police department. I'll give him that. His pre-K has worked it well, but there is a lot of stuff that brings the question about his ethnical background. It's just out there, and this is one of them. This guy should have been let go a long time ago. A long time ago. All right, so this has been a very very serious situation, and here's how you know how much they had spent the money on it. Alta Group bought the property for $28 million, paid a $16.million fee to the city, then sold it to a luxury condo developer for $160 million. The Daily News found last year that the lobbyist James Content involved with the bought and organized seller and the developer has steered $50,000 in donations to the de Blasio in 2017 re-election bid. A personally worth $10 million check to the campaign for One New York. The probe of the city controller Scott Steiner back the mayor claimed that he was not personally informed about the pending deal, but focused City Hall aides who were. The City Hall officials were informed on January 2014, but the DCAS was brought to lift the deed, was about to lift the deed restrictions on Rivertown House, but failed to tell the agency they wanted to make sure that the site stays a healthcare facility, according to reports. Nearly a year later, Mayor A found out that the deed restriction has been lifted and that the Alta Group might sell it for a private luxury housing, but failed to do anything in the 72 days before the sale actually closed. The findings, the people who were investigating found. Sorry about that. The mayor, press secretary Philip, refused to state whether or not mortifying was political. It was political. Let's not kid around here. It was political. It's political. I don't even say whether or not it's political. It was political. Again, he's running for mayor this year. Let's not kid each other here. And that's exactly what the problem here that I found with this. And yeah, they're gonna hammer that. They're gonna hammer it hard. They're gonna hammer it good, and they're gonna hammer it throughout his campaign. No matter who it is, it could be an independent for all we know, because it does bring a question about his ethnicities. It does, no question about it. You know, if I'm getting upset with Chris Christie's and how he handled Bridgegate and how he was out of the loop with that, and people give him a low rating for that, people are going to remember that luxury thing because, again, New York is expensive. They need all the affordable housing you can get right now. It's very, very bad. It has not gotten better with de Blasio. It has not. I was hoping it did. It did not. And he doesn't have that much good of approval rating, depending on the nationality. So right now, he needs to do something. And if he got separate ties with people who was controversial to begin with, he's going to do it. No question about it. Moving on. I normally would talk about this entertainment roundup. I would normally bring this up. I haven't brought it up last week. I decided to talk about it this week because it is the story that may not go away anytime soon. It has died down somewhat, but it is a story that just scratched my head because it almost became a political civil rights thing. And it's not completely over, even though Dolan has turned the page and moved on. For Charles Oakley, it's not over. And before I get into anything else, because I was aware that there are certain civil rights activists who was involved, don't be involved in this. Please don't be involved in it. Don't make this more than what it really is. Alright? The bottom line is, yeah, he was thrown out. Was there suspicions of why he was thrown out? Maybe, maybe not. But the one thing I'm not buying is that he's completely innocent. He didn't say anything, especially since there's been statements and stuff he has said in the past about Dolan that make me wonder if Dolan was more afraid of what he may do to him than anything else. Alright? He should never took a swing at the guards. That was another thing that Oakley should never have done. And listen, I'm an Oakley fan. I love my Knicks. I became a Knicks fan probably because of him, Xavier, Patrick Ewing, John Starks. Those are the guys who I have followed doing their incredible run in the 90s. I wish that team was still there because, my God, do we need that kind of fire? But they're not there. Um, there's a lot of things, reason why I'm not totally buying into the fact that he's been the victim here because, frankly, he's really not. If anything else, he should have known to leave Dolan alone. And here's another thing is, if anybody wants to sit there and say that his loyalty, I got news for you. The Knicks have paid him. The Knicks have done his job. He has done his job. He's retired. He hasn't played with the Knicks for a while. The Knicks don't owe him anything. The Knicks don't owe him anything. And for him to feel entitled that he's owed something is ridiculous. He's not owed anything. Right? You played your series. You'll remember for many people as a great Knick. But leave it at that. Leave it at that. Personally, this dominating the sports world was a joke, in my opinion. It should never have been anywhere close to being a dominant talk at all. But it became a dominant talk to the point now he's sitting there with the Cleveland Cavaliers owner watching the Knicks get beat by a far better team. He's became their guest speaker. Like I'm supposed to really care about that. If you're there just to watch the Knicks, fine. If you're there to try to make a statement, what statement are you making? It ain't being done. And I'm tired of seeing these activists jump at the first sign of high popular Tory topics. Again, I'm not buying for 1 minute that his rights was violated. I'm sorry, it's just not. As good as he is, and again, he made some good investments, but hey, there are some things that he has done in the past, and there are some things that made even the owner and myself uncomfortable. When you said you want to, put something in his food, you want to get him behind closed doors, that means a lot, and it's not selling. So please keep that in mind before anybody, all of a sudden decide to jump the bandwagon and start saying that the Knicks was in the wrong. To me personally, they're not in the wrong. Just because you bought a ticket doesn't mean you are subject to being rejected by the security guards at any given moment, especially if you're misbehaving. And here's the thing: I think people always want to brush aside. It wasn't just the security guys that saw something going on; it was the cops. And the cops are not going to come in and escort you out unless you did something wrong. So it's not just the security on their team; it's the police department as well. So keep that in mind before anything else. Moving right along. I have been trying to find the story. I'm actually looking for it now because it is something that a lot of people has been talking about. It hasn't gotten that big of a buzz surprisingly on the internet, but it has gotten a buzz on newsfeed, and it has been determined, in case you don't know, that it's not a terrorist attack, but more of a drunk driving, simple case of that. It says here that this has happened at Mardi Gras in New Orleans on Saturday. It said that at least 28 people were injured at a Mardi Gras parade in New Orleans Saturday night when a apparent drunk driver plowed into a crowd watching the festival. Police Chief Michael Harrison said an unidentified man was in custody and under investigation for driving while intoxicated after his silver pickup truck rammed into parade goers in mid-city section of New Orleans and struck two other vehicles about 6:45 p.m. We suspected that the subject was highly intoxicated, Harrison said, refuting suggestion that it was terrorism. Again, that's the whole thing. I think the reason why it's not that big on the internet because it wasn't terrorism. Classic case of drunk driving. Classic case of a guy who shouldn't have got on the wheel. I'm just happy no one died. When you hear something like this, people being proud in, it always have a tragic end. Luckily, it didn't happen. Yeah, there's going to be some injuries. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of talk about this, especially in local. But the fact is, no one died, and to me, I'm like, thank God for that. With that being said, what the idiot was doing, why was he thinking, getting in the well intoxicated? I can never tell you that. 21 people was taken in for several hospital areas. 5 were taken into a trauma center, and uh, guarded condition and are in grave condition, I believe. Officials said several individuals declined to be hospitalized. Victims' crash ranged from about 3 to 40 year olds, including a female New Orleans police officer who was on duty. The emergency services the director, Dr. Jeff Elder, said none of the injuries appear to be life-threatening. Again, good news. Suspect hit people watching the popular mural and I can't pronounce this word. International parade, which attends thousands of relievers who line the streets. The bees tossing from the flow. The driver crashed near New Orleans and Charleston Avenue. Oh, no, sorry, New Orleans and Charleston Carrollton Avenue. The truck reportedly hit white Chevy Malibu, sending it into a utility pole and a dump truck. The immediate aftermath, family members exonerated scanned the scene if there was loved ones who were okay. Obviously, there was a big panic. A witness, a freelance photographer, told New Orleans advocates that the truck whizzed by her as fast as she crossed the intersection. She could feel the rush. That is a very scary thing to go through. We had something like that similar, only this guy did it on purpose. He ran people over, then ran to the train station. They caught him after 2 days. So yeah, this is not something that the police are going to be taken seriously. But again, not terrorist related. That was the first thing that come up. This is how much of a scary world we live in, when even a drunk driver can prompt the first suspicion of terrorism. Luckily, that was not the case. Still, this is a case, pretty much more of a case of a guy who should never been in the wheel after having too many. A guy who definitely wouldn't be charged to the letter of the law, and will be put to the harshest punishment if found guilty. Again, thank God nobody was killed. That's more important. And for what I understand, the rest of the Mardi Gras went on what a hitch. But it just takes one thing like this to ruin the whole experience, especially if you've never seen a Mardi Gras before, and you're there to witness it for the first time. The magic, the spiritual, and the community sense of what the Mardi Gras does to bring to New Orleans. And you have this clown, basically, who had way too many, can't believe, who can't seem to understand, hey, take the damn cab and leave your truck at home. Again, thank goodness nobody was killed. And that's pretty much it for the stories, guys. I'm going to keep it short and simple. I will make this announcement. I'm still working on a new co-host. I'm also hoping that Rev Refner will be joining me again soon, so that way we can also rap about some of the stuff that we have been talking about. Some of the other topics will be related to what I just talked about. Other topics will be done from locally. I haven't touched on the North Carolina situation yet. I probably will just give you a little briefing. There has been a subpoena done by one of the new elected governor's selection. I forgot what he was under, but there's a whole lot of mess going on with North Carolina right now that it's going to be a while before they get their act together. A lot of people protesting. They're losing a lot of businesses, and the minute that a Democratic governor gets into the office, they immediately strip them of any of his powers, which shows us how dumb and arrogant they are, and how much they are trying to claim the power as much as possible and trying to hinder the newly coming governor. It makes you wonder if this was a Republican governor would do the same thing. Of course not. So this whole thing doesn't make any sense. It's a very much bad power play, and everybody knows what they're doing. It's just very, very sad that they really are playing with democracy the way they are. He was voted in, and already trying to give him a hard time. So again, that's something I'm keeping an eye on. The guy did not appear in any of these hearings. That, of course, that didn't make anything any better. But obviously, because of the policy nonsense and the stripping of power, that was one of the main reasons here. So that's one of the main things that's been happening. So there you go, guys. I just basically give you that brief information. I'm going to keep more on tune with that because, again, with the North Carolina, that alone has become just a giant mess, a giant big mess, and it doesn't look like they're gonna solve itself anytime soon. But I'm gonna keep myself focused on that, see what's going on, see what anything develop about that. The Democrat mayor is gonna have a lot of handful. I'll tell you that. And to me, a lot of it is a little bit unfair, and I think they need to realize that. I think the governor of that state would have probably been reelected if it wasn't for one major factor, and I think everybody will agree is he went along with a lot of laws that were very questionable to downright unethical, and I think these are laws that wasn't even unnecessary, shouldn't be in the books. And I think this is the thing, this is the price he has paid for. And they've been very, very, very defined on these policies, defending it to the wall, even when obviously a lot of people are saying no, and by the way, I'm not going to have my business with you. So again, there's a lot of mess with NC. Oh, look, not knocking the state as a whole. I've been there, I've seen it, I love it there. I spend my vacation there, I'd love to go back one day. But the politics behind the stuff they're going through, isn't making things any better. It's actually making things worse, both business-wise and economy-wise. And they need to wake up. They need to stop. All right, making all these anti-pushback laws, to stick it to a certain group of people, to the point where it's hurting your business is not good at all. They need to wake up. But that's my opinion on this topic. I like to hear your opinion on yours. I like to hear what you got to say. Yes, we will have a co-host. I'm going to keep everything on the wraps. I will do an update video as much as you can. You will see some more standalone videos on this political side of the town. I will do briefings as well. But for now, guys, I want you guys to take care. Be safe. New Yorkers, don't get fooled by the weather. It was 7 degrees one day, 7 degrees the next day. Today, as I'm recording this, it was 49 degrees and freezing. So this weather has been pretty much up and down. It's making my immune system whacked. I mean, I've never been this sick in a short period of time before until now. But according to a lot of people, global warming don't exist. Try telling them about New York City weather. But again, be safe. Be healthy, and this podcast is brought to you by Jockerlee 77. That's me, Mirror Stein Publishing Network, and our friends at MaticExpression.com. Until then, take care.